Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. It's finally Friday, possibly the longest week of the year. Welcome to today's Grain Market Blast with myself, Ryan Paisley, and the amazing Angie Setzer, where Angie will be providing a rapid roundup of the latest pricing, flows, and market-moving news in agricultural markets. But before she does, and I know she's itching to say something witty, and possibly at my expense, I better get the legals out the way. Stop it. I see her unmuting quickly. Stop, wait. Nothing discussed on this Spaces session constitutes trading or investment advice or infers any kind of endorsement by PIQ Global Limited Trainers, PIQ or PIQ Suite, or indeed the hosts, which are, as you know by now, the amazing Angie and myself, Ryan. Go on. What are you going to say?
Oh, I have nothing now. I got nothing.
What a
It's
letdown.
Friday. My brain is soup. Not even the good kind of soup. It's like the chicken noodle, the thin and not, just not even
No
really,
substance.
yeah, gonna provide you much in the way of substance, like you said. Like it's just
Coloured
you're gonna be
water.
hungry in 5 minutes. I don't know what to tell you. But happy Friday, like you said.
Happy
We
Friday.
made it. I think I said that earlier.
Whoa. Let's not
Yeah, we're
jinx it. The day's
we're
not
not
over yet.
there yet, I guess, but here we are. So, market wise, from an overall standpoint, I'm gonna say, the biggest thing that we're facing is the same thing, say deja vu all over again. We did see yesterday President Trump had threatened the EU with a 200% tariff on their liquor and wine exports if they didn't rescind their tariffs on U.S. whiskey, and we didn't really see much in the way of a response to that, but we did see what I'm going to call a very positive meeting. At least Ontario Premier Doug Ford, from what I have seen, spoke very highly of the meeting that he had yesterday with Commerce Secretary Letnick and Jameson Greer, the U.S. Trade Representative. They all kind of gathered together. They had allotted an hour worth of time to meet and, spent many more, according to reports, than that 1 hour, kind of having what was called a pretty constructive meeting. I think Ford said that the temperature has been brought down. They shared a tremendous amount of back and forth. He's feeling very positive, is what he'd said. They were going to reach out again next week, and this is a quote from Ford in the National Post. So take it for what you will, but it's his words. I'm going to imagine. He said, "This is I can honestly say it was the best meeting I've ever had coming down here." So apparently the food was good because I rank my meetings based on how good the lunch was. So I'm going to go with it was a
Oh,
good lunch.
absolutely.
But we did see a spike, right? Poly markets had said there was like a 40% spike to the potential of seeing the tariffs rolled back by this point next week. Trump's going to speak to Carney, Canada's new prime minister. And so we have some things that hopefully, I feel like we're going to soon reach fever pitch of trade war worries. That's trademarked, by the way. But it may not be, it really isn't, but it may not be until after April 2nd comes to play. We've got to we just got to get the crap. It's just one of those things where we just got to gain more clarity, and we're really not going to gain much in the way of clarity, honestly, in my opinion, until we get to April 2nd and we know what the administration is intending to do with our reciprocity, which is one of my favorite
Yeah.
words to say, and then how everyone's going to respond with their retaliatory tariffs, which is my second favorite phrase to say this week. Like if this were Pee Wee Herman, we would be screaming real loud right now. But yeah, from an overall standpoint, I'm going to say that yesterday was a good day, other than the whole back and forth with the EU. And so we'll see what today brings. Peace talks between Russia and Ukraine. I feel like my headlines are kind of the same this week, and that's cool. But peace talks between Russia and Ukraine. We saw Russia's President Putin come out late yesterday and say he supports the ceasefire. And it was fun to watch because you saw the headlines come out, and then all of a sudden wheat went from being up 9 to being up 5, and
Oh,
corn went from being up 8 to being up 4 or whatever, which takes me back to the caveman war bullish, no war bearish. Like, cool, guys. Like,
God.
all right. But it's true, I guess. And so we saw them kind of back off, and then Putin was like, yeah, I support the ceasefire, But I have a lot of questions. And so he and Trump are supposed to speak today to potentially answer those questions. Who's going to police the 1,200-mile front line that Putin says they have to deal with? And then in addition, we did see, though, yesterday, unfortunately for Ukraine, it appears that what the remains of the Ukrainian strongholds in Kursk has kind of fallen. And Russia's leaders or Russian officials yesterday were saying that basically any of the Ukrainian troops left in the region, they have two choices: surrender or be killed. And so it does look like Ukraine will have lost that card that they were hoping to have ahead of
Yeah,
negotiations, right? They had some land that they were hoping, maybe to swap back. And so it will be interesting to see. Like, I think the idea of a ceasefire and I think the idea of long lasting peace is something that we all want to work for. Like, don't take this
yeah,
the wrong way at all, because it is definitely something we need to see. But I feel like we're going to find that we're exceptionally far off because Russia, to a certain extent, we saw a certain level, what chunk of their banking sanctions accidentally roll off to where they can start processing some different payments and things like that. And really, if you were to argue, Russia doesn't have a huge reason outside of public opinion, maybe, and I don't think they care much about that, to stop. You know,
if they,
um,
well, if they do care, they've misread the room.
exactly. They're like, they love us out there, and everyone's like, I don't think so. But it is what it is. And so that's really what we're watching, is just kind of how the situation will develop and what we'll see. I do get nervous, you know what I mean? Like, it just that you could see it kind of boil. Like, we have this idea, this sort of idea that everything's going to go very swimmingly, and I hope it does. But I feel like things will get worse before they'll get much better, just because there's a potential cornering. But if the U.S. is involved and that mineral deal gets signed, all of a sudden we have a lot more in the way of economic
Yeah,
interest, you could say. And then things could really get interesting. So giddy up. Let's see what happens. The last thing, really that we're paying attention to is cash grain movement. I've been saying this. I will continue to say it. You will see something from me today on the Twitter sphere. I am going to start putting together, I just got to figure out who we need to be writing these letters to, but probably going to toss out, a letter to your representatives and a letter to the industry representatives as well, to just reiterate how important it is that we fix these port fees. I'm hearing more and more from physical grain traders in the industry that it is a very worrisome thing if they're working in the export side of the business. It is the thing that
right.
these people are worried most about currently, because it really does affect the cost and what you're paying for this grain. We
So
saw,
just to confirm,
yes,
and this is like with the added fees if
yes,
a ship or
the port
fleet
fees,
was
the China
maybe
bill.
behind. Yeah,
Sí,
yeah, yeah,
señor.
yeah,
Yes. For those who
yeah,
don't habla yes español, I just said yes, sir. But yeah, that's the port fees that we're looking at, up to $1 million per ship. That's pretty substantial, 50 cents a bushel of additional freight costs. And so we did see last night South Korea actually bought some corn optional origin, South Africa or South America, and they did a private deal that is thought to be maybe U.S. versus South America. And what's most interesting about the South Africa versus South America purchase is that it was more expensive than the U.S. corn, as it stands currently. But if the freight costs were to come into play, it is not. And so, we're just in grain trade. You have to hedge your bets. Like, you have to hedge your ability to get ownership. You have to hedge your ability to receive shipment and all of these other things, and not take it straight in the behind on cost. And so
yeah,
you are starting to see the cash trade factor these increases in fees in, and it is starting to create some ripples. We did see
yeah,
Brazil and Ukraine corn, or an increase in inquiries on Brazilian and Ukrainian corn out of both members of the EU yesterday, as well as out of China. And so I keep saying that there's not a ton of extra supplies floating around in the world, but if you start to add a dollar here, 50 cents there, and things like that, you're just going to start to impact demand. it's going to
Yes,
make it
of
too
course, of
costly
course.
to see a continued growth in demand like we're seeing, especially with all these extra things floating around. So we got to watch that, and we got to be yelling really loudly. I'm actually quite disappointed at this point in time that we haven't heard anything, at least that I have seen. And so I apologize if they've said it and I just missed it. But anything out of the industry and industry representatives that take a lot of money from farmers to protect their interests are too focused on E15 year round. Well, G15 year round is great, but we got to fix this portion ASAP.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's really what we're looking at. Chinese buyers are still slowly picking away at your Brazilian offers that you have. Prices have increased, though they've weakened a little bit this week basis wise. You saw a real sharp rally after Carnival last week and the thought that tariffs were coming into play and some of these other things. They've since kind of softened a bit as we've seen a work through of some of the logistical headaches that we've had.
Yeah.
But it does look like China's crushers will be without supply or short on supply for a while. And we are seeing big stimulus rollouts announced and things like that. Maybe we'll finally get some poo and not just fart. I did take your line. It's terrible, but I had to use
What? What?
it.
I've trademarked that one. I literally second. I was like, I took a moment. I was like, hang on, did she just say what I think she
I
said?
totally did. I took your line and I made it better. You're welcome. But yeah, so we're gonna be watching what's happening there. Weather over the weekend. We got some issues in India. Wheat is coming into its weather market. Watch Kansas City wheat here. If we don't get some rain in the Southern Plains, things are gonna get sketchy or more interesting than what they already are. And so, yeah, happy Friday. Lots of things to be paying attention to. It's Friday, though. We obviously have headline risks, tape bombs galore going into the weekend.
Over the weekend, especially.
Put your
Yeah.
helmets on, and we'll see. We'll see what today brings, and then we'll be ready and back Monday, rested and ready to rock and roll.
Exactly that. It does feel at the moment like a day without a tariff headline is a day without sunshine.
Right?
So
I'm
it's like
just so used to it. But I mean, like, and one of the
very
things
right.
that I really kind of keep reiterating to my customers is over and over is like, you have to remember that sentiment and emotion functions on a pendulum.
Yeah.
And just what, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, we were riding on the high that we were just going to have everything, taken care of. Everyone was, what were you worried about
Yeah.
with the Trump nothing, everything's great. We're flying high on the world of life or whatever. That was terrible, but still,
Next minute,
uh,
we're all gonna die.
and now here we are, like, oh, the worst, is yet to come. And so generally, when you hear, oh, the worst is yet to come, we're getting
Oh,
close to the end, But
yeah.
yeah, we're a couple weeks away from really feeling comfortable or confident in what the hell's actually like. We just got to get the crap out. You just got to get it all out. And so until
God.
then, we're just kind of gonna worry about it.
And yeah, on that note,
Yeah,
uh, Andy, thank you so much for being an absolute star all week, all week, all month, all year, just since you've been around, basically. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in, especially our regular ones. We really appreciate you. Have a lovely weekend, and whatever you're doing, stay safe, spread the love, and we'll see you on
we'll
Monday.
be back. Yeah, have a good one, guys.